questions, some of which you all brought to the table today. And there's also a few very targeted questions. Many of these individuals drove very far to be with us today. I just wanted to go through, you met Steve and you met Keith. Would you introduce yourself, Greg, please?
Greg Sacco, utility operator for 35 years for NIPA. I come from north of Utica, New York.
And Phil?
Philip Rose from Fenner, New York. We have 20 wind turbines since 2001. And I'm the president of the Fenner Renewable Energy Education Center. I'm on the steering committee of the United Climate Action Network.
Dave Knapp, county legislator, and also I'm chairman of the Onondaga County Agriculture Council.
I'm Connie O'Hearn. I live in Scipio Center. I work in real estate. I've been a resident there for 30 years. We're dealing with a wind turbine project coming to the town of Venice and Scipio with 24 turbines, 650 feet tall.
Thank you. And like I said, some of the questions will be targeted to specific people to take advantage of their expertise today. The first question of the day, we mentioned Cayuga County and Onondaga County. Thank you, Madison County, for joining us. Phil Rose. The question is, Madison County is experiencing cumulative projects, number one. And likely you all saw the great media coverage of the initial turbines blowing up. The media likes things that blow up. But Phil, having gone through this and new projects coming, larger, more powerful, solar, wind, could you share with us some lessons learned? You've been doing this a long time. Yes.
Oh my
Some lessons
God.
learned.
So I fought hydrofracking. We organized the whole state, you know. We kicked butt on that. We kicked out the gas companies from destroying our state. And it's like, you know, and I've been part of the current wind turbine company for, you know, since 2006. I'm president of the Renewable Energy Education Center, so I like renewable energy. I think it's one of the solutions, personally. I think we got to get off fossil fuels, so we got to do something. And this is a good alternative. How we manage it, how it works out, you got a lot of quirks there, but it's like, you know, I feel totally betrayed by my government. I feel totally betrayed by the private sector. They have set it up. You know, our town supervisor, Dave Jones, he says, I just want a seat at the table. You know what I'm saying? That's simple. I just want a seat at the table. That's all we are. But they don't give us a seat at the table. They come in, they're arrogant, they lie, they manipulate us. Liberty Renewables, they come in, well, you know, we gave them a hard time at some board meetings, you know, we gave them a hard time. We didn't want them, we don't want you here, right? Well, they got all bent out of shape. Oh, we bullied them, and oh my God, they're just terrible people, and blah, 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 you know, it's all this crap. They have one of their meetings, right, where they come and they tell you what they're going to do. There's no conversation. There's no negotiation. This is what we're going to do, period. We're going to leave it. They brought guards. They brought two muscle men. They were so scared of us. It's like, me? You're scared of me? They did not show up with a shotgun. You know? So it's so disrespectful and so illegal, and it's so unethical. And I'm an organizer, so I organize my neighborhood. You know, I got a whole bunch of people. I got a listserv. I keep people informed. You know, I'm doing everything you said. We're making comments. You know, we're pushing the envelope. We don't think they're paying any attention to us. You know, it seems like it's all just, you know, making noise, but they don't care. But we have Liberty Renewables, which has 24 wind turbines coming in, 700-foot turbines. They go from Fenner has half of them. We got six in my neighborhood and 12 in Fenner. And then it scatters down through Nelson and Eaton and Smithfield. And then Cypress Creek just got approved for 1,000 acres of solar. You're gonna cut down 100 acres of trees to do that. They're just proposing it everywhere, you know, they're gonna cover the land side, and, you know, Fenner, you know, and it's so true, we're just a small little town. We got a part-time supervisor, that's it. And we're up against a multi-million-dollar company, right? They got resources coming, I mean, they got money everywhere. This is what we're up against. And, you know, home rule, they just took it away from us. What happened? Who wasn't looking, who wasn't minding the farm, you know, when they said, we're just gonna take that away? When was it, okay, we're just gonna sneak in there and take it away? So unethical.
You have the irony on that too,
Mhm.
during the fracking fight, that you and I were talking about.
Yes, yeah.
That topic of home rule was front and center.
Yeah, that was saving grace. That was gonna save us.
But now,
Okay.
If the state has approved it, we could have held home rule, yeah. And
No,
that's it.
thank you. I think it's important, because you've been through it and touching on home rule and something, you know, we're hopeful as our, you know, some of our legislators, you know, try to change that and we demand that, right?
That's right.
So thank you, Phil, very
You're
much.
welcome.
Things to that.
Of course you can.
So one thing that happened in our town, we had folks come in, wanted to put up one wind tower, okay, not much, but one. We told them, yeah, but we want a full EIS. You're not gonna get the environmental impact statement, cause it wasn't an all-risk project, so make them do a full EIS. They turned tail and run, they didn't wanna expose all that information. The other thing, I talked a little bit about the cumulative impacts law. Right now, in the process that is the solar facility, but I like to say these are the largest industrial facilities that any of our towns will ever see, okay? A solar facility in our town, and the cumulative impacts law in our county, already said, oh, you don't have to deal with that. Well, the administrative law judge has said, well, no, actually, they have a point. You should have actually dealt with that local law, and they failed to do so. So now it's up with the executive director and ORES waiting for a decision. So that was another stumbling block to them to actually go forward and do this. So really consider a cumulative impacts law in your community as well. She has the questions, you have to work with her.
Now, cumulative, that helps too, cumulative impact being a big part of this, because once they come in, they sprawl. The next question, most of us are from Central New York, Finger Lakes area. We're very proud of our pristine waters. The county, the state, we've got some town supervisors here as well in the audience. The towns, we're all trying to keep those water, our lakes, the Finger Lakes, the Kettle Lakes, Onondaga Creek. We want them clean, that's our water supply. The question becomes, we're investing in keeping those clean, yet there seems to be some detrimental effects environmentally to putting these solar projects and wind into the watershed. And Greg, I know you've done some work in that area. I could start with you, but happy to hear from anyone that would like to comment on watershed.
Well, I think we can go right back to battery energy. If you want to go start with watershed, you can look at Shaman, New York, and look at the battery energy storage situation up there, where they fought a fire uselessly for 8 days, I guess you should say, and poured thousands upon thousands of gallons of water, and what sits right downstream from is the lake. So I mean, now everybody's saying that there's no issues there, but if anybody could see, you can find it on the internet. If you go to the Tudhill Commission's website, you can find the fire commissioner's presentation on that fire. It's pretty interesting. I will say, I'm completely against solar and wind. I can disagree with many of my cohorts up here. So, as an operator, wind and solar are non-dispatchable means of generation. They're asynchronous means of generation. They create nothing good for the power system. Nothing good for the power system. Operation-wise, they're very hard to operate. It creates nothing good. So, if I could look at the New York State ISO. Anybody in this room can just type in NYISO. Look at the New York State ISO. Look at the California ISO, CAISO. you look at California right now, they had about 1,900 megawatts of solar production. Right today, we had about 300 megawatts of solar production. At night, California takes a beating. They import all their electricity. They got 5,000 megawatts, 6,000 megawatts of passive battery energy storage. They take a beating. They pay 35 to 40 cents a kilowatt hour. We're paying half of that. Right now, California's paying cost per kilowatt, 12 cents a kilowatt. We're paying, our market rate now is 3.5 cents a kilowatt. You know, naturally, by the time you get done with distribution costs and everybody else making their money, you know, you got 17, 18, 20 cents. But so they're paying 12 cents, we're paying about 3.5 cents right now, current, real time. It's a failed energy. The assemblyman's here. I was successful in beating a project with my assembly person and my senator for my neck. It's 3,000 acres, 130 megawatts. You can beat NYSERDA, you can beat ORES.
That was before though, right, the ORES rule or not?
Nope.
What year was that?
Well, just about 4 months ago, 5 months ago. We got the final letter, the final rescind on the letter. All it takes is Keith knows, Steve knows. We're in Albany all the time, legislators, senators, and you get a legislator to work with you to get NYSERDA in a room with the developer at the same time. And you get your ducks in a row, you can destroy these people. So.
Thanks, Greg.
Yes, go.
I also wanted to call on Julie Abbott because she's very engaged with the watershed.
My heart is pounding and I'm soaked in sweat when you talk about water quality. Mentioning Shemont, you're gonna see my question. Bring up Lyme, New York and what happened. You're sitting in an unfiltered drinking water source for the entire city of Syracuse, the Skaneateles Lake watershed, along with other communities. The Owasco Lake watershed, our friends over in Cuba County, is here in my district, in the town of Skaneateles and Spafford. We have a Tisco Lake, okay, which is aqua. It serves the rest of the county. And what you were referring to, and we're sitting in a firehouse. When they had that fire, okay, and those batteries burn, are our fire departments equipped to deal with that? Are they trained? You're pouring water on that. There are heavy metals that go right down. This is no joke. I am deeply concerned about this. The DEC at the end, the report is, oh, everything's fine. I'm a politician. I don't believe that it's fine. I'd love to see that it's fine. Before we go put this in you know, here, I chair environmental protection. We, on a monthly basis, are dealing with consent orders for Onondaga Lake, which is stuff that has to be made up for the damage we did there. So we're looking at 20, 30 years from now, and we're looking at Dave and I serve on the CNY Regional Planning and Development Board. The CLP, the climate plan was our discussion this week. And when you look at nuclear, I'm really excited. We have Oswego County representatives there, and they're looking, and they want to be a host community for new nuclear. So 10, 15 years from now, when everybody's on board and we're actually buying into this, what's going to happen to these solar farms? And the wind farms. So just keep doing what you're doing, but I really am concerned about community preparedness as it pertains to our drinking water sources, the gem of our communities, right guys? Micron's here, and their families are coming here for quality of life. We need to preserve this, so keep asking questions with regards to that. I am not satisfied with what happened in 2023 in Lyme. I don't. I'd like to see.
When you were talking about what happened at Lyme, I think the governor had to actually issue a shelter-in-place order or something because of that. It's not ironic because you know, with all the hype people made about Indian Point, it operated for 50 years. That never happened. That never had to happen. But right now, just right out the gate with battery facilities, when not even that many deployed yet, you're having to have a shelter-in-place order issued. That's pretty crazy.
It is crazy. It's concerning for our communities, like the preparedness. Okay, so there's another issue that we haven't talked about, which is preparedness for my great fire department right here, right, and all of us. If you have an issue, And so that's another question that needs to be asked as we're being forced to do this, so ignore my line question, because that's one of the things that I don't forget about.
And how many volunteer firemen and firefighters
Exposed.
actually have time to take 8 days away from
Right.
their family to sit and pour water on a fire and, you know, even if they get, you know, 8-hour or 12-hour shifts or whatever, I mean, they're away from their jobs, they're away from their lives, they're away from their family.
Well, we can talk about the air as well, right?
Yeah.
I mean, these are heavy metals burning, these batteries, you guys, it's not, you know, and what are they being exposed to, and what are our children being exposed to? This is
Our
way too
food.
fast.
We're an agricultural
Yeah,
district.
I
I'm in
know.
an agricultural district.
Right?
Yeah,
It's way
exactly.
too fast without doing proper due diligence. And I am an environmentalist through and through, okay? Really, and I care, and I know you all do too, so.
John, Darcy, one of you have, John?
I just quickly.
Sure, please.
Town of Tully, we've done more than our share. I think we have 5 existing solar. We work very effectively to do a good job with view sheds. We're now facing the wind turbines. But just Thursday, I was contacted by the people that did our solar, and they want to put battery backup on. And their quote to me exactly was, it just came from a seminar, and if it catches fire, you just let it burn, and the emissions are no worse than a regular structure fire. So I'd like some more information.
Maybe we need
Yeah,
to do a separate session for interested people about BESS. Because you watch the news every weekend, you're like, oh, within 3-mile radius of, you know, this particular place in California, everybody got evacuated. There's not enough hotels and Airbnbs for all our, we're, you know, right? So, I'm sorry, I got carried away. Darcy, you had a question?
Back on the hydrogeology side of things, you know, I just wanna add, you know, a lot of it might be just water quality, but in our case, for Tully and Atisco and Lafayette, it also increases landslide risks in our area. And that's something that's not typical. I mean, we've already had landslides, we have active landslides right now, probably, as we're speaking, given the heavier rain the last couple of days. So I just wanna mention that.
Well, and someone brought that up earlier, I think it was you, that, you know, how, this is a good next question, and it is, how do small rural towns with part-time town boards, how do we take this on? How do we, you know, Steve gave us some ideas, any other ideas from the group here?
Well, that's what my suggestion was, and that is that you find that bottleneck, that decision maker, and when it's a town board or any elected official, they have to take an oath of office. That oath of office requires a surety bond, and anybody can file a claim against that surety bond if they break any law, because they took an oath to uphold the law. That's how they stopped the masking in the schools, because all those masking requirements were illegal on international level, state level, federal level, Nuremberg trial, all that stuff. So one guy in Ohio figured out that these people, you can file a claim on a surety bond. I never learned that in school, and there's probably a reason for that. But he walked in there and he said, you guys be quiet, I'm gonna be telling you how this is, you're gonna stop masking the kids, and if you don't, within 24 hours, I'm filing a claim on all of your surety bonds. When I exhaust your bond, I'm coming after your personal property, because you will
I
no
gotcha.
longer be covered.
So it's really a chain.
So
That's important.
That's leverage.
Yeah, that's leverage.
You don't have leverage against a large company, you don't have leverage against the state, they have an inexhaustible amount of money to keep you tied up in court. And if you spend too much time, I mean, what you just mentioned was great. You said, okay, we'll meet all of these requirements. And they couldn't do it, so they left because it became unprofitable or unreasonable for the company to deal with it. That's all.
Because it's about money.
Yeah, because it's about money. And it's the same thing with the town board. They're gonna be probably getting some kind of
Well,
payout or something.
we can
potentially,
save
you
that
never
political.
know.
No, I truthfully, I work with a lot of local
Yeah.
officials, and, you know, and we've all heard the stories where the company, you know, one of the guys on the board, you know, is leasing his land to the
Sure.
company, and,
Perfect.
yeah, and that's a problem, and
Like
it's.
real estate agents on zoning
it's-
boards.
Yeah, it's not as if it doesn't exist, but most people in local government, you know, it's basically a volunteer, you know, job, you know, I've been on boards where, you know, it's like, well, you really should get you know, a pay raise this year. No, I'm not taking one unless you're taking one. And, I mean, and no offense, but I've never heard that happening on the federal or the state level. Okay, that's just something that happens in local government, because most of your local government officials are part of your community, and they got into it because they wanted to serve. And I would actually recommend you get involved and on the planning board or your town board or something.
I get all worked.
Yes, see, that's, but, I mean, unfortunately, we need good people to run for those local offices, because that's where people come first. If they have a question, they're not gonna go to the assemblyman's office right off the bat, they're gonna go to their town board. And each of you should know everybody in your local government and, your assembly member, your senator, and your house rep. And you should make that contact and fulfill that relationship. They should know who you are, even if they don't remember your name, that's okay, they meet a lot of people, but, oh yeah, I met you at blah, blah, blah.
Well, I understand like what he's saying, that it's at the town of Stafford, that sort of our issue with the commercial solar farm on Route 41, that, it's not even the developer. We realized, I'm like, it's the town. I've been since June trying to tell them that it's in the watershed, since June, smacking the watershed, and the developer said that no, it isn't. So I've been since June trying to, I'm filing a FOIL to find out what the insurances are in their bonds, whatever, with our town. It's
But
not even the developer.
Your EIS
So
should show that, DEC has to sign off on
They
whether
did,
or not
and it
those are
says that
wetlands.
it's not
or
in the
not.
watershed, and I went to scanlake.org, and they put the address, and it's in a beautiful one. And,
Yeah, so,
but our town hasn't wanted to hear it since June, so now I realize, I'm like, so I know what he's saying, it's sort of,
Yeah, it's scary.
how can we be a lead agency, all the agencies, they know everything, how can the community, since we're the ones that affects it the most, how can we be a lead agency on these documents, because we're the ones that have to live with this. Rose Hill 1 and 2, it's already sold to another company before they even had the power. I was
betcha.
sitting there
Happens
as,
all the time.
I was sitting there as the email came in. Hey, with a new company, here's our new decommissioning plan, which they don't have to abide by, the new company, they don't even have to go with the project, they could just leave it there, and then we have to clean it up. So it's
Thanks,
kind of,
Yeah, no, your project's important.
the
and we're
town
here-
board,
we're here
yes,
to
I think
support
it's
you.
how can these agencies, how can the community with wind, solar, instead of saying, yeah, all these agencies are involved, how can the community be an agency involved? How can
Election
we-
day is Tuesday, write him in, or you write her in.
So I want to make sure I get a few more of the audience questions, as many as we can, and there's some redundancy here. So for all the NIMBYs here, not in my backyard, which I don't think anybody really.
It's a corporate.
Yeah. Let's talk about loss of property value. We're paying on the front, we're paying NYSERDA, we're paying for those RECs. As John stressed, our utility bills have line items on them, for this renewable energy transmission interconnections. They hasn't even started yet. Connie's a realtor in the area, and Connie, can you just give us a general idea of what you're seeing now that the Agricola project has been permitted?
Well, I'd like to say that, the wind company will tell you that the property values will go down for a little while and then they will rebound, and that's their standard question, their standard response to people that live in the area. That usually is because they don't collect data on houses that do not sell and won't sell because they're too close to a solar or wind turbine. In our particular area, they are, the situation is not necessarily being disclosed because it's basically a buyer beware. So if you're moving into a town, you want to check and see if there are any projects being planned for that community or that town that you're moving into. We have had some properties that have been sold and the buyers did not know that they were going to be what I call ground zero. Anything under a half a mile, you are at ground zero. If that turbine is less than a half a mile from your home, you are at ground zero and you will be feeling effects. And the state doesn't have to talk to you, or the wind company doesn't have to talk to you unless you're basically a quarter mile, say, because the standards the state sets for these turbines is very low. So they'll say the setback of how far a turbine can be from your property line is based on the height of that turbine. So just in very general speaking, they don't care about anything after a quarter mile. Anybody that looks into turbines or goes to an area where there's turbines, if you are within 2 miles of a turbine, you could possibly have very serious effects living near those turbines. 10% of people, and this is the state's own health organization, will say that 10% of people can suffer very serious health effects from living near a turbine. So saying that, it's a buyer beware, and I would say if you look at towns that already have them, there's a particular town called Arkwright, and they have a video out on National Wind Watch where they show a video of people that are living near turbines and that they were not aware that this was going in next door to them. And that is true in a lot of ways because the wind companies are sneaky. They go to different people, they tell them not to talk about the deal they're making. So you end up with something already well in the engine running before you know anything about it as a property owner. So these poor people did not know that. They saw some signs around that said no industrial wind turbines, but they really did not do their research. And they paid very good money for these homes, and they're looking at the wind company coming to them and asking them for a good neighbor agreement, and they're offering to pay them to be close to their home. And basically you gotta be aware of those as well, because those put you in a position where now you become participating. So you think, well, I might be compensated for what this might cause me as a headache, and they will tell you it won't be a big deal. Do your research, because it may be something you cannot live with. It may be the vibration, it may be the sound, it may be the shadow flicker, and it may affect your animals. You don't really know, so do your homework, because they will give you a money value before you even know that effect on you. So these people are at ground zero. They did not know that, and they are opposed, obviously. And it's sad, and I just say, beware, do your research, and
Is the dollar value gonna go down on my house
Yeah.
because there's gonna be wind turbines there?
well, personally, I don't have any buyer that comes to me and says, show me a home as close to a wind turbine and solar array that I can get here. You know, and people that live in the Finger Lakes, and where our project is, it's up on a hillside between Owasco Lake and Cayuga Lake. The view shed is huge. All of Owasco Lake, if you're out on that lake, you will be seeing wind turbines, which means you will see them in your sunset, you will see shadow flicker. I mean, I've been to Sanford, New York. They have 650-foot wind turbines down there. You go near them, you get within a half mile, it's like having a city bus. That's how big those things are above your head. They are huge.
To the height of the Washington
Devour.
Monument. The Washington Monument with a turbine.
They devour your landscape. They devour
That's a
it.
good
And
analogy, too.
you can see it from the view shed that the wind company provides. You can see it from the west side of Cayuga Lake, parts of it, all the way to the east side of Skinny Atlas Lake and all of Owasco.
But the
It's going to
FAA
impact a
lights
huge
make for
area.
such an enjoyable campfires.
And people don't even know,
Let's just
they don't know it's
Can
happening.
I ask a
Thank you,
question about
Connie.
that? I just have a question about that. So there are a lot of wineries, right, throughout the Finger Lakes. Where do they stand on this? Because that's a tourism thing, right?
I think the tourism
They
industry
were
is
just named
opposed.
the wine growing region of the national wine growing region of the year. The Finger Lakes were just named.
I'm just wondering where those are some pretty big landowners, powerful landowners, where do they stand?
Well, I think that the word is getting out more and more by having, discussions like this. I think if you're not involved and looking to get more involved and learn things, it's hard to know what's happening, and then all of a sudden, there's huge tractors coming in and cranes coming in and dump trucks and cement trucks, and they're like, wow, what are they doing?
Well, that's
We
true,
can-
right? So this last group of questions, I would have loved that we could spend more time, especially on the environmental piece. Because I believe there's a lot of people that do want a cleaner planet for our kids and our grandkids. I think there's some towns, Tully came up as an example, where, sure, we'll take some renewable energy, but let us decide what that looks like and where it's gonna go and how we're gonna manage that. So there's so much more on the plate here. I hope, again, we can do this again, but it looks like a lot of people are hiring lawyers. Lawsuit, hopefully. So I think that's the end of our panel discussion for now. We're a little short on time. Anyone is welcome to stay in the room if you have questions for this group of very smart people.
Give David a chance.
Well, just really quickly.
Yeah, the agritourism,
Yeah, no, I mean, we got agritourism, which is really booming in central New York and the Finger Lakes and all that with the, the winery I just mentioned, it was the national area of the year. We've got that going on, but, I think the mailer with the you can't eat a solar panel was, I mean, it just tells a whole story. We are paving over our farmland, and we've got some of the best farmland in the country up here. It's tough because some farmers are struggling. They look at this as a way to, maybe they can, keep things going a little bit longer and stuff, but this is a long-term thing, and quite frankly, the tearing down, reclamation, whatever, in 20 or 25 years, who knows what that's gonna look like, and that's a long time. And are these bonds still gonna be there? Are these companies change hands, daily? And that's a huge concern. Are we ever gonna get this land back? And grazing sheep or something like that, yeah, that's not, yeah, no. And with these monster turbines they're doing now, you need at least an acre of ground just for the pad. Then you've got the transmission lines, they're going to have to build roads. They're going to, in the Atisco, Tully, Lafayette one, they got to build a cement plant up there. And these are all small town roads, they're all going to be destroyed. And again, that whole agricultural infrastructure up there is just going to be shot. So I'll leave it like that. My family's been farming here since 1804, so we've been here a while.
Thank you, Dan. Great. Well, appreciate all your input today, guys. The last, or I'll let you go ahead, Melissa, and talk about the last piece. Sure. Which is more of a tutorial and a call to action.
Thank you so much. Thank you, gentlemen, and Connie, for your input. We appreciate it. Next up.